Hello guys, Termex here, and welcome back to another Harlowe build video. Today we got Jakobs Harlowe, Deputy Harlowe, Ricochet Harlowe, whatever coin name you want to give her. She's going to be pumping out some crazy damage, but I will say, when it comes to mainly using Ricochets and mainly using Jacob, unless we are using a kickballer or some sort of damage glitch, bossing will be a little bit of a slog. But for AoE, for ad clear, for most bosses that aren't 3 health bars, even if they are 3 health bars, you can get through them pretty decently. But I will say this build is really freaking fun. A lot of ricochets, using Harlow's entanglement basically to the max potential. This is fully green tree. We are not spec'd into any other tree but green because all the benefits from green are going to help us tremendously with gun damage, especially since we're using the nuclear winter setup, but it's not going to be like everybody else's where it's the same shit. We do have some different things in here where we're playing into the overshield mechanic quite a bit for survivability, but we're also using that overshield mechanic to do damage as well. So going into the gear, mainly the big things you want, the big hitters are going to be just basic times 10 Jacob shotguns. Why times 10 Jacobs? Because they have the most amount of pellets, and these pump out so much damage. You're hitting 10,000 damage per shot. Very easy to hit, but this is important. Do not get a times 10 Jacobs with torque stickies. We are not doing torque stickies. Do not run this build with torque stickies because it does not do as well. It delays things. It delays procs. It's just definitely, it's not worth your time. So going into this build, get a times 10 Jacobs. I got the Baylor. Baylor's pretty damn good. Fire rate is going to be slower on these, but we're going to have means of increasing our fire rate, so don't worry about it. Another weapon in the build is the Lucian's Flank, which is a Vladov assault rifle, but if you get Jacob's Ricochet on it, and with this build, with the way the entanglement spreads and all that works, getting all these targets entangled and using the fire damage on it, which is actually quite nice for what it is, and once all these people are entangled, you could just shoot one of them and it does insane damage. This is great for ad clear, great for certain flesh bosses as well. You never have to really reload when you're hitting crits because you're adding ammo back and using our nuclear winter setup. Another great option is the Rainbow Vomit, as it does ricochet as well, and you're hitting for all the different elements. It is a different use case depending on what you're doing, but as you see, we entangle everybody, we Rainbow Vomit, and they all take the different procs as well. Kind of good for elemental damage if you want to do the more elemental route, because you could use basically anything that ricochets. It doesn't have to be Jacob specific, but using the ricochet mechanic, and the shield is kind of giving away what we're doing here, but all this is going to play a factor. And the final one, of course, is the Hot Slugger, doing huge single target damage, huge ricochet damage based on what you're shooting. Getting that stacking damage per kill plays a really good synergy into the rest of the build. Now for the rep kit, we do have a war paint, and for war paint, it is nice, but you could do amp if you really want to do amp, or you could do the other one that actually allows for 30% more damage when you pop it, and you take 15% more damage. I forgot the name of it. It's a certain rep kit that allows you to do more damage for a short time. I use my rep kits for utility, but the war paint specifically for the fire rate and movement speed, because the fire rate on the times 10 Jacobs by default is pretty slow, as you can see as we're clicking it. So when we activate our war paint, it actually does speed it up a little bit. And it's also going to be increased further by our action skill once I go over that. For the ordnance, we do have the rocket socket. I'm kind of playing a mini version of my rocket Harlowe build that's on my channel. If you like this playstyle a little bit more, where you're just spamming infinite rockets, I do have a full dedicated build to this. Though the build doesn't center around it in this, it's a form of doing boss damage without having to worry about Jacob's ricochets and having another target in the arena to do the maximum amount of damage. If you don't want this, you can swap it out for the boring crit knife, or I actually recommend to do something like the Void, which will make a big radiation singularity and pull everybody in there, making it easier to ricochet everybody if you are in a mobbing or drill site situation. For the class mod, it is a very generic class mod. All you're looking for is a certain skill, and that skill will be in blue tree by the name of Control Group. Killing an entangled enemy restores a portion of your action skill cooldown and your action skill duration. This is giving us the most optimal uptime on group studies, so when we're mobbing, bossing, all that, we don't have to reactivate and worry about cooldowns. But mine also came with, whenever Harlowe triggers splash damage to an entangled enemy, she gains a chance to trigger entangled damage share again. Now entanglement gives you 7% damage share with everybody, and if you're hitting for splash damage, which with the Boomicorn, or Rainbow Vomit I should say, there's a 45% re-trigger chance. So when you do use splash damage with our build here, even though it's a ricochet build, there's a chance it procs twice and you're doing insane numbers with splash damage specific weapons. So do with that information as you will, and it does help out the build quite a bit, but that's only if you get lucky and get that certain roll on the class mod. Going to the shield, we have the Watts for Dinner. You remember the Revolter? This is like the Revolter's little cousin. When our energy shield is active, enemies hit have a 12% chance to drop a overshield when hit. When overshield is also active, you get 25% shock damage to everything you do. Mine rolled with Absorb, which is nice for survivability, and Siphon. When dealing damage, 5% 50% chance to grant 809 overshield. Now, one thing to note with this shield, the overshield proccing is actually per pellet. So when we have something like a Lucian's Flank and we are shooting an enemy, it is per pellet trigger chance, and it doesn't really have a cooldown to my knowledge, but the more you shoot, the better. It's not like I'm gonna wait, then shoot, I'm gonna wait, then shoot, which you definitely could, but you can see with your screen in the surrounding parts of the screen, that is the purple effect. That is when Siphon procs, but all these boosters are going to give you overshield as you are fighting enemies. So with a Ricochet build with this shield, right, since we are hitting so many enemies at a single time, let me entangle these guys here. We will entangle all these targets, and then bada bing, bada boom, and as you can see, when we shoot, they are dropping boosters in the background. All these other dummies are dropping boosters because that's simply how the shield functions, and it has a great synergy with survivability, keeping you basically alive at all times. Just run over these piles of boosters and you'll be fine. And finally, for the enhancement, bounce pass, of course, with the Ricochet build. Guns with Jakobs licensed part increase the number of possible ricochets by 1. I have some decent rolls here. Shotgun magazine size, so we get a second shot on our ×10 without the worry that we have to reload again, giving us a security blanket. Gun critical hit damage, which should be your main source, and then SMG damages, whatever. This could be a better roll. This could have something specific like shotgun damage or gun damage or damage dealt. Unfortunately, it does not. Same with my class mod. It has sniper damage and health regen, but the elemental damage is helping. So if you get better rolls than me with this build, obviously you're going to be doing more damage than me. Going to the skill tree, it is only green tree. We are using our flux generator with nuclear winter and group study. This is the tree. Pretty simple. Just some key things to worry about. Since we are constantly going to have overshield, we're going to get creative overflow for more gun damage with our overshield. We're also going to get latent charge for more damage with our guns and our action skill up to 50% with the overshield, and that's going to double dip into nuclear winter because we're getting 50% gun damage and then we're getting 50% action skill damage. So we're actually feeding into our gun at double the rate. We're getting bonus radiation damage from neutron decay, bonus crit damage from momentum and excited states. 1 point into distribution function. So when we do action skill damage, there's a amount of damage stored that goes into overshield to better keep up our overshield as well. Critical funding, when we hit crits, we have a chance to just return all of our ammo back. Normally, I would not spec into gamma ray burst, but there's a bug right now with gun handling where projectiles move slower the more gun handling you have. So until that is fixed, I only want to put 1 point here. But those 4 extra points that you would be able to spend, I would put either into feedback loop, or if you really wanted to, I would go over into blue tree and get parallel circuit, because every time we retrigger, we will get gun damage, which will also feed our ordnance damage with our specializations, because our specializations are going to be gun damage benefits. 50% of that goes towards our ordnance just for bossing purposes. 1 shot, 1 kill. When we get a kill, the access damage is stored into our next shot for the next 12 seconds. Really good for single shot Ricochet builds. I am a gun. This is going to give us action skill damage increases by 50% of our gun damage increases, double dipping into our damage once again. And then riddle you this, the Pearl of Knowledge from Borderlands 3. Every time we shoot an enemy, we get a stack of 1% gun damage up to 50%. I would recommend for general, if you want best in the game, best what you want, Deadeye is going to be one of the better ones, because Deadeye at 2 stacks will give you a 25% gun critical hit damage increase. If you wanted to go for 3 stacks of Deadeye on the firmware, you get a 15% critical damage per stack, and it has 5 max stacks, so you could technically stack the crits over and over and over again if you had 3 stacks of Deadeye, which does help tremendously. But other than Deadeye, Goofjack or whatever, Goo JFC, 2 stacks of that will give you 15% action skill damage, which will feed into our nuclear winter as well. That is the build video, guys. That is Ricochet Harlowe, and if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure you hit the like button down below, as it does spread out my Borderlands 4 content to more people in the community. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on another build video from me, guys. Stay safe, and I'll see you all later.